Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to episode number 2 of what I'm calling my 25 top 6 album runs in rock history. So, and again, these are my picks, right? These are the bands and their 6 albums that I feel are kind of like unparalleled as far as having like 6 killer albums in a row, back to back to back to back to back. As far as like just impact of the albums, sales of the albums, the songs on the albums. I mean, it's, these are, and again, these are not perfect albums. And some of you may disagree that some of these maybe aren't what you'd consider top notch, or maybe the 6 album run starts earlier or starts later. And that's totally okay. You can come up with your own list in the comments below. But these, I feel, are 6 album runs that are pretty tough to beat. And maybe not every album is perfect through and through, but you know what? They're classic albums. And that's very hard to do, right? There's so many great bands that we've seen in the history of music who maybe have had 3 great albums in a row, and then some kind of substandard albums, or maybe 4, maybe 5. But 6, that's kind of hard to do. So again, you may not agree with these picks, and that's quite all right. I think the key here is we're all going through the discographies of some of our favorite bands in the history of music, and put down which ones you feel have a 6 album run that is pretty tough to beat, right? So I've picked out another 5 here. It's so funny because I originally titled this series the 25 top 6 album runs, but man, I have accumulated a list that's a lot longer than that, so I'm going to have to be doing some kind of picking and choosing later on, or maybe I'll just do the top 25 and then I'll do some honorable mentions, so I may do it that way. So so let's get started here. So of course, the first choice today I'm going to go with is a band that basically had to be on this list. They absolutely had to be on this list. And again, it's a matter of where do you start, because when you really think about it, their run is even longer than 6 albums. But most normal bands barely can do 5 or 6, right? So, but the Beatles obviously have a lengthy run of great albums. But for me, when I look at the ones that are my favorites that I feel are their most classic, I'm going to start with A Little Rubber Soul, okay, from 1965. This, to me, starts the period of the Beatles that I love the most. Okay, I really like their kind of psychedelic period as opposed to their earlier, much more pop-oriented period. I'd like that a lot too. But for me, the Beatles that I love the most started with this album. Okay, so this, of course, went double platinum here in the States, pretty much certified in most major portions of the world, #1 selling album. Great album. You got Drive My Car and Norwegian Wood and, Michelle. I mean, so many great songs on here. We don't have to get into all the songs on all these albums, but I think we all know how great Rubber Soul is. Of course, that was followed up in 66 by Revolver, a top 3 Beatles album of all time for me. I absolutely love Revolver. This also went double platinum, also #1 here, #1 in the UK, right? Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, Yellow Submarine, She Said, She Said. I mean, it's loaded with great tracks. Good Day Sunshine, feel good poppy music, but it's still psychedelic at the same time. So that is #2 in this 6 album run. #3, of course, is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. #1 basically in every major market around the world. This was enormous, released in 1967. 18 times platinum, all right. Multi-diamond, I think 11 times diamond, I don't know, whatever. All worldwide, I think it sold 32 million copies as dogs going berserk downstairs. This was just a drop-dead classic. This is the height of their psychedelic period. Of course, you got the title track with A Little Help from My Friends, right? Lucy, This Guy with Diamonds. Lovely Rita. Every song on here is a classic. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, #3 in this 6 album run. I'm going to go, of course, with the White Album next. All right. From 1968. Again, #1 everywhere. Worldwide, this has sold over 17 million copies. Double album. Some people say the album is a little too long, too much filler on here. I don't really think so. Back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, Ola Di, Obla Da, you got the wonderful Mother Nature's Son. Your Blues is terrific, good hard rocker. We always like that one a lot. Blackbird, I'm So Tired. A lot of great stuff on here. Some silly stuff, some poppy stuff, some rock stuff, lots of psychedelic stuff. I dig this a lot. Great double album. And then, so I have chosen not to include Yellow Submarine, which to me is pretty much like a soundtrack, and it's like to the animated film. And there's a couple of new songs on there. There's a couple of repeat songs on there. Some other stuff on there. So I have chosen not to include Yellow Submarine. Instead, I'm going to go right to Abbey Road. Okay, released in 1969. 31 million copies worldwide. Another #1 album across the world. Amazing. Come Together, Something, right? Here Comes the Sun. The whole ending, Golden Slumbers Carry That Weight, the end, Her Majesty, is just absolutely amazing. Because, Oh Darling, Octopus's Garden, again, has all the whimsical stuff we love about the Beatles, the great soaring melodies, the good rock stuff, the psychedelic stuff. It's all there. And then to finish off this 6-album run, we're going to go with Let It Be, released in 1970. Again, it was their last release, but recorded. Most of this stuff was recorded before before Abbey Road. Abbey Road was going to be their last album, but they took a whole bunch of tracks that were written prior, put it together. This one also went multi-platinum. All right, and some great tracks on here called Two of Us. Big Pony, I've Got a Feeling. Great, I've Got a Feeling. Let It Be, Maggie May, Get Back. All sorts of great stuff on there. Just a fabulous, fabulous album. And that's the Beatles, right? So we're going to move on. I apologize for all the dogs going berserk because my wife is dog training now, and I think they've gotten one of my dogs is taking part in the training, and the other ones who are not part of the training are all upset that they're not part of it. It's this whole thing that always goes on in this house. So yes, let's move on. We're going to move on to Billy Joel. All right. So, as we start the whole Billy Joel sweepstakes, the 6-album run, we're going to start with The Piano Man from 1973. Okay. So this, he had the Cold Spring Harbor, which came before it. Most people don't really consider Cold Spring Harbor one of the classic Billy Joel albums. It's a strong album, but not quite classic. And I will say The Piano Man is kind of where it all started. You have the amazing title track. The Ballad of Billy the Kid is totally awesome. Somewhere Along the Line, Captain Jack is absolutely classic. This one went 4 times platinum. Okay, so that starts our run. That's #1. #2, Street Life Serenade, which I think is the underrated release in this particular catalog. This went platinum, released in 1974. The title track is amazing. Los Angelinos is a great, great rocker. The Great Suburban Showdown. Roberta is excellent. The Entertainer is excellent. Last of the Big Time Spenders. The Mexican Connection. All really, really strong tracks. Maybe no enormous hits on here, but I think it's just a really... In fact, I think this is a better album than Piano Man. Piano Man gets all the attention for the bigger hits, but I think this is the one that I enjoy a little bit more. So that's album #2 in this run. Then we're going to go to Turnstiles, released in 1976. Also platinum. Okay. This has Say Goodbye to Hollywood, right? Great. Summer, Highland Falls, New York, State of Mind, classic. You got the Prelude to Angry Young Man and Miami 2017, among others. Miami 2017 is an amazing song, Seeing the Lights Go Out on Broadway, just absolutely classic. This is another great, great album from Billy Joel. We're going to go on to #4, which is, of course, The Stranger. This is the first huge album for Billy. 5 times platinum, #2 on the charts here in the States, released in 1977. Moving Out, Anthony's song, classic. The Stranger, classic. Just the Way You Are, classic. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, classic. Vienna, classic. Only the Good Die Young, classic. She's Always a Woman, classic. Right? Probably the only 2 songs on this album that were not staples of classic rock radio and AOR radio at the time was Get It Right the First Time and Everybody Has a Dream. Both really strong songs, right? But overshadowed by everything else on this album. This is just absolute dynamite. If you can only take one Billy Joel album with you to wherever, that's the one you take. Some people might pick the 52nd Street, right? Album #5. 7 times platinum, #1 seller in most major markets. Big Shot, Honesty, My Life, Zanzibar, Stiletto, Rosalinda's Eyes, Half a Mile Away, Until the Night, and the classic 52nd Street. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Then, of course, number 6 in this run is Glass Houses. Also 7 times platinum. Number 1 selling album here in the States. All right. You May Be Right. Sometimes a Fantasy. Don't Ask Me Why. Still Rock and Roll to Me. All for Lena. Among others. Classic stuff. Classic stuff. And probably so with Billy Joel you can actually continue, because Nylon Curtain and Innocent Man and The Bridge and Stormfront, quite frankly, and River of Dreams, all really strong albums and big sellers. But I think for me, the classic run were the 6 that I just mentioned here. So there's that. All right, next up, we're going to move over to Elton John. Surely, right? So first one we're going to do, hold on a second. Elton John. Elton John, 1970. All right. So this was his first gold album. Not a massive seller, right? But of course had the big song, Your Song, on here. Take Me to the Pilot, Border Song, The King Must Die. Strong songs on here. The beginning of a lengthy run for Elton John. That's album number 1. Album number 2, released in 1970 also. So released a few short months from each other. This is Tumbleweed Connection. Right, this was his first platinum album. Reached number 2 here, number 4 in the UK. All right. Battle of the Well-Known Gun. Country Comfort. What a great song is Country Comfort. My Father's Gun. Love Song. Amarena. I absolutely love Amarena. It's one of my favorite Elton John songs. Burn Down the Mission. Classic stuff. Album number 3, released in 1971. 2 times platinum. Madman Across the Water. You know, I mean, this has Tiny Dancer and Levon on it, right? The title track, Madman Across the Water, is so good. Holiday Inn. All the Nasties. I mean, just classic stuff. A little bit more of a rock album, I think. But excellent, excellent. Honky Chateau, 1972. Another platinum album. Number 1 in the U.S. Number 2 in the U.K. All right. Title track. Well, not title track. Honky Cat, I mean. Think I'm Going to Kill Myself. Rocket Man. Salvation. Mona Lisa and the Mad Hatters. Hercules. Great stuff. And then, of course, 1973's Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player. 3 times platinum. Number 1 in the U.S., number 1 in the U.K., released in 1973. Daniel, great song. Elderberry Wine, Loose for My Baby and Me. Crocodile Rock, Have Mercy on the Criminal, probably the underrated track on this album. Excellent stuff. And then, of course, last but not least, the number 6. 8 times platinum here in the States, number 1 in the United States, number 1 in the UK, number 1 or 2 in a lot of major markets. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, the great double album in 1973. Another 2-in-1 year from Elton. Okay. Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding, right? The great title track. Benny and the Jets, Gray Seal, the amazing Gray Seal. Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. I mean, it's just loaded with classic tracks. And again, you could arguably count, you got Caribou coming after this. You got Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, Rock of the Westies. Those are all really strong too. Blue Moves is pretty strong, right? But I think for me, this is the 6. I think that really is the great run here. All right, we're going to move on to the great Steely Dan. All right. So, of course, with Steely Dan, you got to go from the beginning. You could arguably say that it's a 7-album run right out of the gate, right? But we're doing 6. So we're going to do Can't Buy a Thrill, the debut from 1972, platinum. All right. Only made it to number 17 here, 38 in the UK. So, some of these albums from Steely Dan, not quite big, huge blockbusters, but, gold and platinum, and lots of, singles and deep album tracks, right? Do It Again, Dirty Work, Midnight Cruiser, Reelin' in the Years, Brooklyn. Classic stuff, maybe a more rock-oriented album than other ones. Next, after that, we're going to go, and I have these out of order. Bad Pete. Where are we going? There we go. Countdown to Ecstasy, 1973. Gold album. Did not chart in the UK. Number 35 here in the States. Bodhisattva's on here. Boston Rag is on here. Showbiz Kids is on here. My Old School is on here. King of the World is on here. For Steely Dan fans, this is a classic album for sure. Next, we're going to go to Pretzel Logic. Big fan of this album. This did go platinum. Reached number 8 on the charts here. 1974. Ricky Don't Lose That Number. Probably my all-time favorite Steely Dan song. I just love it. I loved it when I was a kid. I still love it now. Night by Night. Absolutely classic. Monkey in Your Soul. Barrytown. Title track Pretzel Logic is amazing. Any Major Dude will tell you. It's wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. Then we're going to go to Katie Lied from 1975, another platinum album here. Made it to number 13, both here and in the UK. Black Friday's on here. Bad Sneakers, okay. Daddy Don't Live in That New York City No More. Dr. Wu. Are you with me, Dr. Wu? Come on. The Gold Teeth 2, Chain Lightning. Throwback to Little Ones. Awesome stuff. And then, of course, my favorite Steely Dan album of all time, The Royal Scam. It's number 5 in this run. Platinum seller here in the States. Made it to number 15. Both here and, well, the UK made it to number 11. All right, what's on here, of course, you may ask? Kid Charlemagne's on here, The Caves of Altamira, Don't Take Me Alive, Sign In Stranger, The Fez, right? Green Earrings, Haitian Divorce, title track, The Royal Scam. Amazing stuff. And then the perennial favorite for most people, finishing up this run of number 6, double platinum here in the States, made it to number 3 here in the States, number 5 in the UK, Asia, released in 1977. Probably at this point in time their most jazzy album, what a lot of people consider like one of the great yacht rock albums of all time. It's laid back, it's jazzy, it's poppy. You got Black Cow, Asia, you got Deacon Blues on here, you got Peg, Home at Last, I Got the News, and the wonderful Josie. Great studio musicians, jazz musicians playing on this album. This is less of a band and more of just kind of like a collaboration with a lot of great musicians here. Asia is absolutely a legendary album, and that's number 6 in this run. And finishing up this particular episode, right, now that all the dogs have quieted down a bit, we've got, of course, Queen. And we're going to go back to the beginning because the first 6 albums are what many consider the classic 6-album run. I'd argue you can go to 7 and include jazz because I like jazz a lot, but we're going to stop just before jazz. We're going to start first with the debut, Queen, released in 1973. Didn't make much of a dent around the world, right? Number 24 in the UK, number 83 in the US. Went gold here. But man, top to bottom, Keep Yourself Alive, Doing All Right. Great King Rat, My Fairy King, Liar, The Night Comes Down, Modern Times Rock and Roll, Son and Daughter, Jesus, Seven Seas a Rye. So heavy, so great. One of the great debut albums of all time right there. They followed that up with Queen 2 in 1974. Also goes gold. Makes it to number 5 in the UK. 49 here in the States, so we're starting to see a little bit of increase. Not an album full with hits or like radio-friendly stuff. This is much more of a darker, more experimental, dare I say, prog rock type release. You got Father to Son, White Queen, Loser in the End, The Heavy Ogre Battle, Fairy Tale is Masterstroke, March of the Black Queen, which is a tremendous, tremendous song, Seven Seas a Rye. Then we got Sheer Heart Attack, all right, released in 1974. This made it to number 2 in the UK, number 12 in the US. Platinum album, okay, gold in many parts of the world, but platinum here in the States. Brighton Rock, Killer Queen, Tenement Funster, Flick of the Wrist, Lily of the Valley, Now I'm Here, Stone Cold Crazy, In the Lap of the Gods. More heavy stuff. Hard rock and pop all mixed together. Then, here we have the big one. The first really, really big one. So you got A Night at the Opera. All right, this is number 4 in this run. Released in 1975. Number 1 UK. Number 4 here in the States. 3 times platinum. Of course, home to Bohemian Rhapsody, Love of My Life, Death on Two Legs, I'm in Love with My Car. Of course you are. Sweet Lady, Seaside Rendezvous, A Prophet's Song. Yeah, great one from a production standpoint, one of the groundbreaking albums of the 70s. Following that up with Day at the Races from 1976, number 1 album in the UK, number 5 here, platinum here. Another underrated album from them. You know, Tie Your Mother Down is amazing. You Take My Breath Away. Millionaire Waltz, which for me is basically the younger sibling of Bohemian Rhapsody. Somebody to Love is on here. Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy. Long Away. Great album. And then last but not least, finishing up this run of 6, we have News of the World from 1977. Number 4 in the UK, number 3 here. 4 times platinum here. Of course, you have We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, which kind of starts off the album in grand fashion. Sheer Heart Attack is on here, of course, the song from, it should have been on the other album. All Dead, Spread Your Wings, right? You got It's Late. You got Get Down, Make Love, Fight from the Inside, Sleeping on the Sidewalk, Who Needs You. Awesome stuff. And that great cover art as well. So there you have it. Sorry if this one was a little bit rushed with all this dog commotion going on. It's kind of hard to get done with an episode, but I only had a certain pocket of time to do this. So I apologize if all the dog barking and hysterics got in the way here today, folks. Sorry about that. I'll try and do this another time when the next episode when there's not all that going on in the background. So anyway, thanks for watching. So again, we've got Queen, we've got the Beatles, Steely Dan, Elton John, and Billy Joel. There's lots more to come. We got some good hard rock and good metal bands coming up. We have all sorts of stuff happening. So with 6 album runs that are truly immense. Some prog, lots of prog coming up as well. So you know, again, you don't have to agree with any of these 6 album runs. To me, these are classic album runs. These are 6 albums, absolutely stupendous. Some were huge sellers, some were not. But to me, these are mandatory listens, mandatory owns if you're fans of these bands. And it's pretty amazing when you think that these bands 6 times in a row could put out albums of such quality, right? That's what it's all about. It's about the quality, most of all. And the fact that some of these were huge sellers too tells you that most people love these albums, right? So that's kind of what it's all about. So stay tuned for another episode of this in about a week, and let us know what you think of some of these 6 album runs in the comments below, as well as another 5 picks from you. So pick 5 more bands or artists that you feel have great 6 album runs and put them in the comments below. Until next time, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Thanks for watching, everybody. I am Pete Pardo. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.